Hello, and welcome to We Play, You Play, Episode 3. It was supposed to be the three of us, Paul, Ian, myself, playing Civilization 5, but I kind of made an error in the recording, so instead you're going to hear the segment of the show with me playing some of the single-player Civilization 5 instead.
Ladies and gentlemen, get your controllers ready. It's time for...
We Play,
You Play.
Yeah, We Play, You Play, the segment, the wonderful section of audio and video on YouTube site where we describe and talk about a game we've all been playing together, and this week we're playing Civ 5, which is teamed up next week with Medieval, Total War, and Total War Shogun 2. Turn-based strategy, released September 2010, so it's reasonably new.
Yeah.
PC only, lots of languages, and a lot of DLC. Also got a creation kit, and lots of online stuff and everything. So, what do we think about this, guys? What's your first experience of Civ 5, and what do you think about it?
Well, I'd upgraded from Civ 4. I can't remember playing much of Civ 4. I just remember that it was pretty good, and that's the main reason I bought it. Civ 5, I mean.
Mm-hmm.
But it's such a good game. I just remember the first week playing like 100 hours or something stupid like that.
Yeah.
First couple of weeks at
so you
least.
got to like turn 3 or something.
But it's such a really good game. Although there's very little in the way of variety of
We'll not get into
game modes.
Let's not get too much into that yet.
Okay, it's very nice game.
Ian?
I love it. I didn't upgrade from Civ 4. I got it new. I was completely new to Civilization, I mean. And I just heard about it so much. I was like, oh, I might try. I think I tried the demo first. Or I'd at least think I would. But yeah, I got into it. I was like, oh, this is exactly the type of game I love. You know, this sort of strategy thing.
Yeah. I was the same. I found a demo. I was like, whoa, this is good. I think about the same thing as Stu, actually. And I think I bought it straight away. And it was just really good. I wanted the next turn, and the demo was annoying, wasn't coming. But before we go any further, I'm going to show you a little pre-recorded intro about Civ 5 by myself. This is going to be really embarrassing. Civilization 5. Become the ruler of the world by establishing and leading a civilization from the dawn of man into the space age. Wage war, conduct diplomacy, discover new technologies, go head-to-head with some of history's greatest leaders, and build up the most powerful empire the world has ever known. Firaxis Games has taken this incredibly fun and addictive strategy game to unprecedented heights by adding new ways to play and win. There are new tools to manage and expand your civilization, extensive modding capabilities, and intensively competitive multiplayer options. Civilization 5 has come to life in a beautifully detailed living world that elevates gameplay experience to a whole new level, making it a must-have for gamers around the globe. So yeah, go a little intro to Civ 5 for everybody. Stu, you were about to go into game modes there and how it's limited. This game has replay value to it a heck of a lot, but it can be very repetitive in some ways as well.
Yeah. See, most of the time I play these sort of games, as in games which last a long time to play through, and normally it's more than one playthrough.
Yeah,
I tend to get to a point...
7-8 hours for one game, like a normal
At least. I tend to get to the point 3/4 of the way through before I think I'm just going to start a new game and try something else. And I tend to miss a lot of the end game, which can get quite exciting and stuff. So, but I just feel that if you get into a phase of playing this game, you can just play it for weeks and weeks and weeks. Because even though there's only really one game mode, you've got different maps, different enemies, different play styles, different units, and it just all works out. And it just feels like it does feel different every time you play it. Really.
I would say as
Does
well.
anyone-
Sorry, Ian, go on.
Does anyone else feel like the early game plays along much smoother than the very late game? And by late game, I mean when you've got like late infantry or whatever you call it, or mechanized infantry and nukes and stuff. It just seems like the early game plays. It just spearmen and stuff suit it so much better.
Yeah, I always find that when, like, especially when we played our second game, when at the start it's a lot easier to navigate with your troops and stuff. Like you can run around with a spearman or something. But when you get to late game and there's not very much expansion to do, it's just moving ships around and launching nukes and stuff. It's not the same. It doesn't feel the same sort of game, and that's probably the main reason why I start a new game when I get to that age. So I don't know.
I think because I have to say that the Firaxis guys have done a really good job in pacing Civ, because it's such a difficult job if you think about it. And when it goes wrong, it's like the game we were playing. The YouTube video that accompanies this segment has a video on this. When we were playing multiplayer and you share technology sharing, we had oil and coal in like the 1600s, or 1700s, one or two.
Doesn't matter. It was that early on, though.
Too early, like 200, 300 years too early. And because we're sharing technology and our science, it goes on much quicker. Now, in a normal game, it's okay, it's not so bad. But I see what you mean, Ian. The start of the game feels really well paced, and you're getting units at the right time. And you get to you start getting swordsmen, and then long swordsmen, and then one guy's always behind, but then they catch up, and then everybody sort of slows down around the sort of medieval times. And then you can either be quite slow all the way to the end, or sometimes it picks up pace really quickly. It's weird.
Yeah.
Which I guess adds a bit of variety to it. But it also depends on the map and what resources you have and what side you are as well, what country you're playing, what leader you're playing.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of variables in it, which gives it so much replay value.
And can we move on to mods, or?
Yeah.
Yeah, might as well. I originally didn't actually play many of the mods, but when you get to the stage where you're thinking, this is a bit repetitive and stuff, if you go online and check for some of the mods can massively change how you play this game. I can't remember exactly what the mods are like off the top of my head, but I do remember things like, even small things like allowing trees to grow, or even just adding a clock to your toolbar and stuff can just change the way that you play your game. I know, right? Especially.
What time is it? Oh crap! How many times did we say that last night?
Oh yeah.
There's also things like new civilizations, like new races and stuff, which aren't in the game at all, and people have made them up, or new maps, like just downloading maps which like look like the world or something like that. It's just very cool to add to your experience of the game. So
definitely, I think as well though, the game's got an age now where the people are not producing for it anymore. That it's kind of, and the DLC stopped coming out, so the game has finished in a sense. There's not much more coming out for it. So Civ 6 will be here in a year or something, I imagine. Because if they've got through 5. But the funny thing was that surprised me, because I didn't play 4, but a lot of people that played 4 didn't like 5.
Yeah, I've heard that a lot. I don't know if it was a core mechanics thing or just a general not as good thing. I don't know. I'm assuming it was the mechanics, because I heard that. Well, from what I remember, there was religion and stuff a lot in 4, and a lot of other major mechanics which kind of changed the way you played. And I think the new mechanics are a lot clunkier than 4. Right. I'm not really sure. I can't remember personally, and I've not looked into it too much. But I do know that that is true. A lot of people don't like 5 as much as 4.
Ian, you were going to say something?
Was I? Oh yes. Did anyone play a slightly old game called Star Wars Rebellion?
I've heard of it. I've not played it though.
No.
It was kind of like Civilization, and it was the same type of game, but it was planetary instead, and it was in the Star Wars universe, obviously. But you sort of had Tatooine and stuff. But you start off with like your own base planet, and then you try and expand to other planets. I'd kind of like to see Sid Meier Civilization go down that route. So you start off with Earth, and then maybe you expand to a Mars colony,
That'd be cool.
and then that would and then outside the galaxy and stuff.
Yeah, barbarian spaceships and stuff. That would be really cool, actually.
E.T. comes and ransacks your home planet.
Not until telephones are invented. I mean, the game to me, something that can hold me to finish a game 8 hours later, that shows that it's something really good. I think, I've heard a lot of people talk about how good this game is and how much they like it, and I kind of feel people criticize it for their, how can you sit there for 8 hours to play it and then criticize it, Of course you can criticize it, but make it say that it's terrible, and because I remember reading one review on the Metacritic where the guy said this is the worst game he's ever played. I played 8 hours and then I realized it was the worst game I've played. I wouldn't have played 8 hours if it was the worst game I've ever played.
Yeah.
I think there's issues with it. Of course there's issues with any game, but it's a difficult game to balance. Because you can make it too complicated and alienate people, can't you? I kind of feel in some ways, next week we'll get into this more, but when Medieval, sometimes I feel like, sometimes I'm having to micromanage too much, and we're talking about this, and you'll see it in the video. Stu and I, for example, have different playstyles. Stu is a micromanager, where I'm not a micromanager. I just get it done. Stu will quite happily, especially in the end game, say, right, okay, you go there, you do this, that turn, this turn, that turn.
I think
Ian, I'm not sure about. Ian is very quiet and tactical and doesn't say much.
Yeah, I think that's the main issue with this sort of game. When you start off with a small base, a few troops, but you end up with a large, sprawling base with a lot of troops. It's just hard to micromanage every single thing. So.
Yeah.
Usually, I don't say much because our games generally correlate with 6 in the morning, and it's like, I can't even talk anymore.
Well,
all I can do is blink and click.
We have a confession that the last time we played, we started the game about 11 o'clock. And I remember saying at 4 in the morning, guys, I'm going to have to go soon. I remember saying at 5 in the morning, guys, I'm going to have to go soon. I remember saying at 6 in the morning, guys, I'm going to have to go soon. And I think we didn't properly go until about 7:30.
With some company from Mr. Daniels.
Yes. And the tweeting birds outside. So that was our longest game. And the next day was not fun.
Yeah.
Last night wasn't so bad. It was what? Was it 2?
2 or something, yeah.
So it wasn't too bad. And we did start at basically 12.
Yeah.
So, no, but it's one of those games where time just goes by, and again, oh god, I'm on turn 100 already, it's weird. But my criticism of the multiplayer is that it can be really overpowered when you're on a team. And I kind of feel like what annoys me, and it's they've done it the best way they can, but what annoys me is when you're waiting for another person to push next. When you're in single player, it's fine because you just, it's only you got to worry about. It does all the other moves pretty quickly, and just loading up the next thing. And then, but if somebody goes, AFK or something away from the keyboard or forgets to hit next, and you're sitting there for 5 minutes just. And then, especially when you're just building stuff, you're like, oh, God, this is boring.
Yeah.
So there's not another way to do that, really, is there? Then how do you do it?
No. It seems very fluid, though. If they did it in such a way that, even if they made it so you can see animations and stuff, it would each turn would just take forever. So.
Yeah. No, that was the first thing I noticed, because I always had animations on and everything on full, and then when you play multiplayer, they take a lot of that away. Like the generals, when you speak to a leader and their face comes up and all that. I remember the first time clicking that, I was like, oh. So, but it's... Alright, so let's give it a rating out of 10 then. Last time we did a completely different genre of game. This time we've got a genre that we all three of us enjoy, because we've all talked about the sort of the red alerts. It's not turn-based, I know, but that sort of strategy style. With turn-based stuff in particular, what are we thinking? Well, Ian, what would you give this out of 10?
You might have seen I just opened up Steam at this second because I have to qualify with how many hours I've played it. But yeah, it's a great game with tiny, minute flaws, so I would say probably 8 out of 10.
That's pretty good. Stu?
Well, due to the fact of the number of hours I've put in it, I can't give it any less than an 8, so I'll give it an 8.5 just because I feel it deserves it, and there is still flaws in it. So
it's worth your time, put it that way. That's what I meant to say. It's
definitely worth the money as well. So
yeah.
I'm going to go in between to 8.25.
Diplomatic.
Yeah, diplomatic, exactly. I'm going for diplomacy victory. I think it's a really good game, and you can sink so many hours into this. You have to be careful. You have to get the clock mod. And it is definitely worth the money, but I think you can, there are flaws to it, and it has a lot of replay value. It can get boring. It's the sort of game I will put away for 3 months and come back to 3 months later, you know?
Yeah.
I go through phases of it, like you said, Stu, before, so. But it's definitely worth the buy. If you do not have this game in your library, you should have it.
I will point out that there will be a few clips of us playing the co-op up soon.
Yes.
And in the show notes, so.
Yes.
Hopefully, at least.
Yeah, there will be.
I have recorded them, and they are mostly there. So.
So that will be up on a YouTube channel along with Portal 1 and Portal 2. And next week we are doing 2 games. It's going to be a first for us. Medieval Total War and Total War Shogun 2. Both of the same medieval... both of the Total War series. Shogun 2 is, a year and a bit old? Is that right?
Shogun 2, yeah, I'd say no more than a year and a half, maybe only a year actually.
And
Medievals, oof, that's a few.
I think.
At least, 5 years makes a bit of sense to me, yeah.
We didn't feel they were worth a show each, but I think putting them together is definitely, because they're very, very similar.
The way we're going to talk about them is, we could easily talk about the whole series in general and the differences in between them.
Definitely. So, but they are very similar to 7 in the way they play, so, in the turn-based idea and micromanaging and so on, so that would definitely...
Thanks for watching, and I hope you listen to the rest of the show. If you enjoyed that, then leave us a comment, and also if you want to see us actually play together, considering my recording was broken, then just send us a message and we will do that, considering it is one of the most fun games we're playing at the moment. And if you want to see the rest of our shows, go to exposure-control.com.